What if Deku was a Joestar? Part 2. Now, where I left this series off, Izuku had just beaten Bakugo in a race. And now Izuku basically just walks back to his house, not really caring, as he goes back to school over the next couple weeks, having some minimal, not really too much hard classes. Now, one week though, something changes. They finally have a hero class, and this just happens to be when they find out that their teacher will be All Might and that he's going to be teaching them. Now, All Might would rush through the door, as he'd say, "I'm rushing through the door like a normal person." And that's how all of the class would realize that All Might's teaching them, as they would just pretty much get excited. I mean, he is the #1 hero, so there is a very valid reason for being excited. It's not every day that you would meet the #1 hero. Now from there, All Might would start to explain everything that they will be doing, like how they're gonna be doing a Heroes vs. Villains test. Now everyone would walk down, getting changed in their hero costumes that All Might gave them, as they would all go through the locker rooms, change, then walk out, as All Might would then give them teams, Izuku and Momo versus Bakugo and Todoroki. Now from there, Izuku had a plan. Momo's going to have to take on Todoroki, while Izuku will go on to take on Bakugo, seeing as Bakugo was the stronger opponent, and Izuku thought that he could possibly take Bakugo out rather easily. Now from there, All Might would tell them to walk into the building, as Izuku and Momo would walk in both together. Now Izuku would hear Bakugo rushing from down the hall, as Izuku would then just get in stance, as he would say blazing titanium, causing all of the time to stop. Izuku would now have 10 seconds to try to find Bakugo, as Izuku would walk up and around the corner, seeing as Bakugo was right around that corner, as Izuku would then just let his stand start punching. Bakugo just keep on saying Deku, 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 as time would start moving again, with Bakugo feeling all of the pain of the punches, and would be sent flying back into a wall, completely unconscious. Now from there, Izuku would tie him up, as Momo would round the corner, completely confused that Izuku just poofed into thin air. He was gone. So Izuku, of course, would just keep on walking with her, as they would end up going into the main room, as Izuku would see Todoroki. Now Izuku, knowing that Todoroki has a hero of a father, and knowing how much of a bad person Endeavor was, Izuku would try to help Todoroki, as Izuku would start saying how he saw that Todoroki did not use his fire, which would cause Todoroki to counter that with saying that he doesn't want that stupid old man's quirk, as Izuku would say, "But he can't control your flames, can he? Technically that would mean that it's your quirk, not his. You may have just inherited some type of fire quirk from him, but you have a fire and ice quirk, not just a fire quirk." Now from there, Todoroki would just his eyes would widen, as he would send a bunch of flames right at Izuku, to which Izuku would just let his stand do everything that it could, which would just cause his stand to reverse Todoroki by 5 seconds, and Izuku would just stay there, as Todoroki would then realize he's back at 5 seconds, somehow aware that he just moved back, as he thought, what the hell just happened? Only to see Izuku right up in his face, and his stand blazing titanium with one punch would just say Deku and punch Todoroki across the face, which would send him flying into a wall, as he and Momo would touch the bomb. Now from there, Izuku and Momo would walk back up into the room where All Might was, bringing Bakugo and Todoroki, as All Might and the rest of the class would just ask Izuku, how did he punch both Bakugo and Todoroki? he completely disappeared from Momo's side, and when they found him again using the cameras, they just saw him standing over a defeated Bakugo who was unconscious, as they then said, yeah, and then Todoroki just got punched by some random thing that we couldn't see. It was very strange. As Izuku would just say he'll tell them later. Now from there, the rest of the class would just continue doing the Heroes vs. Villains assignment and doing it and finishing it. Now from there, a week would pass as Aizawa would tell them they're going to the USJ today and they have two options: to put their hero suit on or to put their just PE uniform on. Izuku would go with the first option, to put his hero suit on, which you guys can think of whatever you guys want it to be. Now Izuku and everyone would hop onto a bus, as everyone would just start questioning Izuku about his quirk, as Izuku would then start answering them. He'd say he doesn't have a quirk and that his power is more of something else. It's quite hard to explain, really. It's something called a stand, and only stand users can see other stands. It's really confusing. As the rest of the class would just nod slowly, still very confused, just like how Izuku said, it was very confusing. Now, the class would just sit quiet for the rest of the bus ride, as they would end up getting to the USJ. Now, from there, everyone would just walk in, seeing 13, as she or he would explain what they were doing, and the rest would just continue as normal. Now, from there, Izuku would then see a portal open up, as he would just think strange, as he would wonder what was happening, and in the span of a couple seconds, hundreds upon hundreds of villains just piled out of this portal. Now, Izuku would use one of his abilities to foresee the future, seeing that it wasn't good for the class for a long time up until All Might came. He decided to try to reverse time by 5 seconds. Now, from there, the entire world just going back to how it was 5 seconds before, as they would then cut to see all of them standing right outside the doors about to open, as Izuku would then tell all of them to stop and to not go into that building. As Aizawa would ask why, as Izuku would say that hundreds of villains were going to go into that building, as this would cause the entire class to just get suspicious, saying, "What do you mean?" As Izuku would then say, "We were there, inside. Keep in mind, my stand's ability is time. I foresaw the future and it wasn't good. Decided to reverse time by 5 seconds." As the entire class would just say, "Alright, thanks," as they would all just get back on the bus, warning the teacher, as they would then call the police, as the police and some heroes would open the door to see a mass of just a ton of very confused villains, as they would then just send All Might down, as he would sweep up all the villains, defeating them, and also defeating the Nomu, with Shigaraki and Kirigiri escaping, as this would just leave a bunch of confused faces who are getting arrested, and also a confused face on Shigaraki. How the hell do they know not to come in here? The whole plan and everything. You even stole files for this. It's so confusing. Now, from there, Izuku would just be thanked for somewhat saving his class, as he would say really was no problem. And now, I would like to thank you all for watching. Now, the only reason this video is really short is because I had a hockey tryout today. It sucked, because after it, I slept for 2 hours, and I'm still super tired. And I'm still kind of sick from a couple days ago. Well, not really sick, but, like, I just feel very, very tired, because I didn't sleep last night. I stayed up till 6 a.m., basically, and I need sleep. So, yeah, I'm ending this early, because I really need sleep. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. This series will end tomorrow in part 3. So, once again, I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.